Now to the latest with the southern border. Civil rights groups are urging the Justice Department to join them in challenging a new Texas law that makes illegal immigration a state crime, not just a federal one. Texas border officials say they're overwhelmed. We're learning U.S. officials recorded more than 10,000 migrant encounters at the southern border on Tuesday alone.
Meantime, more protests over Texas's latest immigration law. Hundreds marching outside the state capitol in Austin this weekend against Governor Greg Abbott's southern border security program, Operation Lone Star. They also spoke out against SB 4. That's the new law that would allow Texas law enforcement to arrest people they suspect of crossing the border illegally, something opponents say would lead to dangerous racial profiling of Latino Texans.
The United States Senate could reveal today details of a hotly debated bipartisan immigration reform bill. The battle in Washington comes amid anger and frustration across the country over the overwhelming number of migrants crossing into the United States from Mexico. NBC's Priscilla Thompson is in the border town of Eagle Pass, Texas this morning. Priscilla, good morning.
Willie, good morning. This weekend, a trio of anti-immigration rallies took place in Arizona, California, and not far from here. Hundreds of people drove for hours from across the country to take part in these, quote, take our border back convoys. And while there was talk on social media of civil war and violence, these demonstrations were peaceful demonstrations. Some folks even making their way down to the border, many of them telling me that they were surprised. They thought that things would be worse here. Now, border apprehensions were down in January more than 50% compared to the record highs that we saw in December. But still, demonstrators here say that more needs to be done.
Texas Republicans are challenging federal authority on immigration with a bold law citing President Biden's insufficient border control in their view. As Fox's Rebecca Castro reports, this is part of a larger conflict over immigration around the country.
In the Texas border town of Eagle Pass, authorities processed a record number of migrants, over 4,500 Monday night. And Tuesday, large groups keep arriving, overwhelming Border Patrol and adding urgency for Congress to update immigration policy.
We are making real progress on this. We finally have everybody at the table and everyone admitting that this is a national security crisis.
Progress or not, U.S. border legislation is not expected to be finalized until the new year. In the meantime, Texas Governor Greg Abbott continues to push the boundaries on policing illegal immigration at the state level.
Biden's deliberate inaction has left Texas to fend for itself.
Abbott signed 3 immigration bills into law Monday, earmarking more funds to continue construction of the border wall and increasing the penalties for smuggling migrants. But the most controversial new law gives Texas police the authority to arrest undocumented migrants anywhere in the state.
Local authorities, county authorities are going to be able to now just stop you because of the color of your skin. It upsets me that legislators in this building behind me knew what they were doing. It's a violation of the Constitution.
A lot of conversations are happening at the kitchen tables right now, right? Of like, do we need to leave Texas? Is it safe for us to stay? Do we have our kids' passports? What if I get picked up when I go to, on my way to work, and who's going to pick up my kids from school, right? Like, those are the tough conversations that immigrant families are having.
Tonight, thousands of migrants sitting side by side in rows, overcrowding border towns and overwhelming Border Patrol agents. Nearly 7,900 migrants were apprehended every day last week across the southern border, up from an average of 6,000 a day in October. Yesterday, more than 10,500 crossed, more than 4,000 alone here in the Del Rio sector. Women and children can be seen weaving through razor-sharp concertina wire to claim asylum.
The migrants in this makeshift staging area are technically not in federal custody as they await to be processed. Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed SB 4 into law, and if it goes into effect in March, that means that state troopers and deputies could charge and arrest migrants like these behind me for illegally crossing the border.
To Texas now and a new battle over a controversial state law known as SB 4. Hundreds rallied outside the state capitol in Austin protesting the measure before it goes into effect this week. CBS's Camilo Montoya Galvez has details on exactly what this law would do.
This section of the U.S. border, fortified by layers of shipping containers, fences, and razor wire, is one of the areas where Texas troopers are arresting migrants instead of transferring them to federal agents. Texas troopers have arrested more than 10,000 migrants on criminal trespassing charges as part of Operation Lone Star.
Welcome to Citizenship Central. If you're new here, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to hit that like button, smash subscribe, and ring the notification bell to stay updated whenever we post fresh U.S. immigration content. Now, let's dive right back into our topic. The governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, recently signed a stringent immigration law, marking one of the toughest measures in U.S. history concerning state-level immigration enforcement. This law, dubbed SB 4, grants Texas officials the authority to detain and seek deportation of migrants suspected of illegally crossing the border from Mexico. SB 4 enables Texas law enforcement to stop, arrest, and detain migrants on state-level charges related to illegal entry. Additionally, it empowers state judges to issue de facto deportation orders, although the feasibility of enforcing this provision remains uncertain. The passage of SB 4 by the Texas legislature signals an unprecedented move by the state to involve itself in immigration and border control, traditionally federal responsibilities. Predictably, this law is expected to spark legal and political battles with civil rights groups and potentially with the Biden administration. Governor Abbott, speaking at the signing ceremony in Brownsville, emphasized SB 4's aim to curb illegal entry into Texas, solidifying its status as state law. SB 4 is slated to take effect in March 2024, pending any legal challenges that may delay its implementation. Almost immediately after the signing ceremony, the law faced legal opposition, with the first challenge filed shortly thereafter. Critics of SB 4, including Democratic lawmakers, the Mexican government, and advocacy groups such as the American Civil Liberties Union, argue that the law infringes upon federal jurisdiction over immigration. They contend that SB 4 strips individuals of federal rights and due process, particularly concerning asylum claims and removal proceedings. White House spokesperson Angelo Fernandez condemned SB 4, labeling it as extreme and asserting that immigration enforcement falls within the federal government's purview. The Justice Department, responsible for pursuing legal action against Texas, declined to comment on SB 4. SB 4 reflects Texas's ongoing efforts to challenge President Biden's immigration policies. Under Abbott's direction, Texas has transported migrants to Democratic-led cities and deployed National Guard units and state troopers to deter illegal crossings. Stephen Yellur, an immigration expert from Cornell University, characterized SB 4 as the most anti-immigrant legislation he has encountered, surpassing even Arizona's SB 1070 from 2010, parts of which were struck down by the Supreme Court. SB 4 redefines illegal immigration as a state crime, introducing penalties ranging from misdemeanors to felonies. It eliminates the need for property owner consent in arresting migrants on trespassing charges. Penalties under SB 4 include imprisonment and fines for illegal entry or re-entry into Texas, with enhanced penalties for repeat offenders. The law prohibits arrests in certain locations such as schools, places of worship, and healthcare facilities. SB 4 grants Texas magistrates the authority to order suspected migrants to return to Mexico as an alternative to prosecution. However, the logistics of enforcing these de facto deportation orders, including cooperation with Mexico, remain unclear. Proponents argue that SB 4 is necessary to deter illegal crossings amid a perceived lack of federal action. Critics counter that it is unnecessarily harsh and could lead to racial profiling, exacerbating fear within immigrant communities and straining state resources.